Their journey began in Yasharel, but they were scattered across the face of the earth, each one with its own beat, and each one with its own rhythm. As the dry bones are being revived, the beat begins again at the heart of the tribe.
Hello, hello. Welcome to Heart of the Tribe. My name's Shelle Wagner, and I want to wish everyone a happy Shavuot. Alrighty, good to see you. Today I am doing a presentation on Shavuot. I hope it's a blessing to you. It's probably not going to be like any other presentation that you see. I am not of the Jewish faith whatsoever. I am a believer in Yeshua HaMashiach, the King of the universe, and He is my Lord and my Savior. And but I love the feast, and I love being called to celebrate Him how He desires to be celebrated. And what I'm really going to be keying in on today is, the gift that was given by Yeshua, our bridegroom. The gift that was given is his Ruach, his Ruach Ha-Kodesh, his Holy Spirit. Nothing turned out the way that his disciples thought it would turn out. They all thought that, militarily the kingdom was going to be taken and, power was going to be displayed in that way. And when things did not turn out the way that they thought, they had a real hard time with it. Peter was like, forget this, I'll just go back to fishing. And a lot of others followed him in that. But Yeshua was so faithful, and he, appeared to them over a period of 40 days before his ascension. And he said, now I want you to go and I want you to wait, because it's beneficial for you that I go away, because if I didn't, I couldn't have the counselor come. I couldn't have your comforter come. And so he gave his disciples a gift in the form, and all of his people, all that would ever come to him and follow him and want to be a part of his kingdom, he gives the gift of the Holy Spirit. And so I'm looking at that today, and I'm going to be looking up specifically in a specific direction of one aspect of the gift of the Holy Spirit. So I'm going to go ahead and add my presentation to the stage, and we will get to it. So happy Shavuot. So what I'm talking about is the 7 spirits of the bridegroom. This should say part 4. I've got it as part 3 up here. That'll drive me crazy. But it's part 4 of a series that I'm doing. I've covered the first 3, and if they line up with the feast, I'll show you in the next one. But today what we're talking about is the Ruach of Etzah, which is counsel. So the feasts are found in Leviticus 23. And like I said, I've covered the Ruach Yahweh, the Ruach Binah, a spirit of understanding. Okay, the first one would have been the breath of life. And I've covered Ruach Hokmah, the spirit of wisdom. So now we're at the Feast of Weeks, Pentecost, the Ruach Etzah, his spirit of counsel. Okay, so that's what we're looking at today. So we find, what it says about celebrating this feast in Leviticus 23. Okay. I'm not going to read all of it. I'm going to start here at 23:16. It says, even unto the morrow after the 7th Shabbat, shall ye number 50 days, and ye shall offer a renewed. That Hebrew word is hadash. It means a fresh or a new thing. When you go to the primitive root, it says it's something that has been rebuilt. Okay, which when we understand, Genesis 1 and 2 correctly, and we understand the war that took place before we were here as humanity and sons and daughters of Adam and Eve, we were born into something. I talk about that in my book, the first book, Tribal Roots. Go get it. I'll have the links are in the description. It's also on my website. But I talk about that. And I'm not the only one talking about that. There's a lot of people talking about that, talking about the pre-Adamic age, talking about all kinds of things that are coming to light as we learn and grow and come into a new time period that we were born for. We were born for such a time as this, and it is fascinating. Okay, so anyway, here's where we find all the details and the waving of the loaves. Okay, so this is where it is in Leviticus 23. I'm not going to read the whole thing for you. I just wanted to show you where it was. So one of the things that I find interesting is the very last part where it's teaching about this feast, because the whole chapter is on the feast. And so at the very last part, we get one last instruction. And it doesn't seem to be connected with the feast, but it obviously is, because this is talking about the wheat harvest. Okay. So, we know that the wheat harvest is also connected to the very end of days. What did Yeshua say except for, the harvest is great, the workers are few. Pray that workers will be sent for the harvest, to help in the harvest. And so here's one thing that it's at the very end, and I think it's an admonition for us to keep in mind of what's important if you're out harvesting wheat. It says, it's Leviticus 23:22. And when you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not make a clean riddance of the corners of your field when you reap. Neither shall you gather any gleaning of your harvest. You shall leave them unto the poor and to the stranger. I am Yahuwah Elohim. Right here in the chapter of Leviticus, he's talking to us about taking the kingdom to the poor and needy and the hurting and the lost, right? And how, I heard recently a preacher that I admire saying, preach the gospel, use words if necessary. Isn't that absolutely correct? It's what we do, it's who we are, it's how we treat people. It's caring for those that are less fortunate than we are, and caring about them. So during the wheat harvest, the instructions are given to be generous unto the poor. Okay. So we also find Shavuot, the story in the book of Jubilees, which is very interesting. So this is not part of the canonized text, but I often wonder if it shouldn't have been, right? Because I see it. I love the Sefer. I take this out of the Sefer, and I love the fact that these books have been restored, and I have been able to glean from them for my own study and understanding. And so Shavuot, this word in Hebrew, is 7, or a sign, or the sign of sevens. What is that? It's perfection. And so what we find in Jubilees is a story all about Noah, and how Shavuot was first celebrated by him. It says, I'm in Jubilees 6:14-22. And for this Torah, there's no limit of days, for it is forever. They shall observe it throughout their generations, so that they may continue supplicating on your behalf. With blood before the altar every day, and at the time of morning and evening, they shall seek forgiveness on your behalf perpetually before Yahweh, that they may guard it and not be rooted out. And he gave to Noah and his sons a sign, that there should not again be a flood on the earth. He set his bow in the cloud for a sign of the eternal covenant, that there should not again be a flood on the earth to destroy it all the days of earth. For this reason, it is ordained and written on the heavenly tablets that they should celebrate the feast of Shavuot in this month once a year, to renew the covenant every year. And this whole feast was celebrated in heaven. It's celebrated in the heavenly realms. From the day of creation till the days of Noah, 26 jubilees and 5 weeks of his years. And Noah and his sons observed it for 7 jubilees and 1 week of years till the day of Noah's death. And from the day of Noah's death, his sons did away with it until the days of Abraham, and they ate blood. Okay, so there's a connection there that, once they stopped celebrating, they began to go into the ways of Baal, which, cannibal, the eating of blood, the eating, there's a whole lot there. A whole lot there. And I'm not an expert on that. It's just I'm looking at the words and I'm watching what happened. And, there's a reason that we are not to eat the blood, even of animals, that was written in the Torah. It says that the life is in the blood. That's what Torah tells us. And so what is blood except the essence? It captures the essence of whoever's blood that was, So there's good reason to be careful with how we might consume blood. We don't want to consume an essence that we're not supposed to have, right? So, but Abraham did observe it. Abraham observed it, and Yitzhak and Yaakov and his children observed it up to your days. And in your days, so he's, this is to Moses, and in your days, the children of Yasharel forgot it until ye celebrated it anew on this mountain. This was the day that the Torah was given. Okay, so this is what this is referring to. And do you command the children of Yasharel to observe this feast in all their generations for a commandment unto them 1 day in the year, in the month they shall celebrate the feast. Okay. For it is the feast of Shavuot and the feast of the first fruits of the wheat harvest. This feast is twofold and of a double nature, according to what is written and engraven concerning it. Celebrate it. For I have written in the Sefer of the first Torah, in that which I have written for you, that you should celebrate it in its season, 1 day in the year. And I explained to you its sacrifices, that the children of Yasharel should remember and should celebrate it throughout their generations in this month, 1 day in every year. On Shavuot, we had the giving of the Torah. 50 days after the death of Yahusha, we have what has become known as Pentecost on the Feast of Shavuot. You can read about it in Acts chapter 2, where tongues of fire, appeared over the heads of everyone there, and they all received the gift of the Ruach Ha-Kodesh, the gift of the Holy Spirit. So it's interesting how we're given insight into what is contained, in that Feast of Sevens. We find it in Isaiah 11, right? But what preceded Isaiah 11? The destruction of Isaiah 10 is followed with a promise in Isaiah 11 of a sevenfold gift of power to the faithful remnant that is given by the bridegroom, who is described as a branch growing out of the rod from the stem of Jesse, father to King David of the tribe of Yehudah. Yahusha knew this was the best gift for the promised bride, who is doing her best to keep her garment spotless as she waits for his return. She's fishing for others with the net of his kingdom promises of truth, and she is in the world, but not of it. She is rejected by most, scorned by family, overlooked for promotions, pushed out of the workplace, falsely accused of hatred and bigotry, laughed at in the community, considered backwards and uneducated by society, and the sheep she's trying to help often turn and bite her. That's the situation that the bride is in. Oh, how this empowering gift of the bridegroom is needed. It is her ketubah, it's her promise of that coming union with her bridegroom for in eternity, right? It is her promise of his care for and great love for her, right? This is the gift. All the promises that he has for us are contained within these 7 spirits, right? This is everything, the fullness that he wants us to walk in. And I'm telling you, by the Spirit of the living God, we need to be operating in all 7 of these gifts. There are things coming upon this earth. I can feel it from the top of my head to the tip of my toes. Yah is speaking loudly by his Ruach in my spirit of how needed the gift is right now for us to grab a hold of it and walk in the fullness to the very best of our ability. Okay. So it is out of the stump. This is Isaiah 11, 1 and 2, out of the New Living Translation. Out of the stump of David's family will grow a shoot. Yes, a new branch bearing fruit from the old root. Okay. And the Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of the knowledge and the fear of Yahweh. Okay. So what is the spirit of counsel? It is etzah, is how you say it in Hebrew. It is advice. It is purpose, right? It is the voice that cries out when we come up to a fork in the road. And it's that voice that speaks to us that says, this is the way. I want you to walk this way, right? Counsel, his counsel, this spirit that he has given us, his spirit to spirit, okay? Beyond the veil of this world, his counsel gives us the ability to see and behold what is hidden from us in the natural realm of vision. Yahweh gives his servants what's called night vision, okay? When it pleases him to do so, he will remove the veil. You know, we see, Paul says we see through a glass darkly, right? But that ability to have night vision by his counsel, it's funny when I am seeing something in the spirit realm, I can be seeing with my natural eyes exactly what's before me. I see the people, I see their mouths moving, I see what's talking, I see what they're picking up in the grocery store. I'm not missing a trick with my natural eyes, but I have a supernatural vision that superimposes it so that I can see different things, their impressions, right, in the spirit realm of what's going on. That's how his gifts work like that. And so I'm hearing his counsel, his voice, explaining things to me, even while I'm having a conversation, even while I'm doing something else. I have been literally teaching his word, and I start getting a download, and I am learning as I'm teaching sometimes. That's the way that it works. It's a vision, a ability to go beyond the natural realm. Okay. And he wants us to have it. He knows how badly we need it. I mean, if there's anything good in me, it's him, right? There's nothing that I can do on my own ability. I don't have any supernatural ability that's not given by my bridegroom, right? That doesn't come as a gift from him. It's all him. It's not me, it's him, right? So he gives us this night vision, right? It's the counsel cinnamons, it's his advice. He's giving me his instruction. He's given me his admonition. Okay, he's warning me about things, right? So if I'm not operating in that, what am I operating in? If we want to go to the antonyms and the opposite meanings of what this is, it would be I'm just being heedless. I'm just rushing ahead with my own grand, wonderful ideas, and they usually fall flat on my face when I try to do that. I'm being heedless. I am being ignorant. I am being neglectful. Right? It is negligence. Okay, it's the antimons. I am not being guided by His Spirit, so I'm being misguided. There's misinstruction. There's betrayal. When we're not operating in His Spirit, we're subject to betrayal. We're subject to getting caught up in guidance that is not coming from Him. It's really important in this day and age. There's so much confusion out there, and there's so many things that sound good, especially as science is increasing. People are getting really wowed by it, and I'm glad for the technological revelations that are coming, but we need to have His understanding in the spirit realm of what we're to grab a hold of and what we're to shun. Right? We've got to have His ear of counsel in our ear so that we can understand and perceive correctly. Okay, so this really led me to the book of Job, right? Because he was getting a lot of counsel from his friends. So the book of Job has the words of three friends that are adamant that Job has sinned, and they are convinced it has opened the door to the troubles he is enduring. Now, if you've read the beginning of the book, we know that that is simply not true. It is actually his righteous stance that God knows that He can trust Job's heart with hard testing that's to come. So He allows the enemy request being to put Job through the ringer. And Yah allows it because He knows what's in Job. He already knows what's in Job. And He knows Job's going to be able to withstand. And it's not meanness, it's not cruelty on Yah's behalf. He loved Job a great deal. We like to put everything almost like I always take it back to almost like this Santa Claus type thing, to where we think that if I'm going to remove that for a minute, that if things aren't going pleasantly in our lives, that Yah is punishing us, right? That He's sending evil our way. And I think that it's easy to have that type of a mindset when you do not understand that we were born for such a time as this. We literally have been born into a war zone. Okay. We were born right into the middle of it. And there are deep, deep things happening. And we've got to be clued in to His Spirit and submitted in order to withstand the tests that He allows to come our way. If you are here right now and can hear my voice, you're not immune to the testing that He'll allow to come. We've got to gird up our loins and be ready. Okay? All right. I feel like there's such deep things on my heart that I almost don't have words for them. All right. So we know from the beginning of the book that it's not true. Job speaks in chapters 26 through 31, and he is sharing amazing. I mean, the testing that's put upon him, the trials that he's endured that have affected it's taken away his children. It's taken away his money. It's his wife is not even on his side. She's saying, why don't you just curse God, give up and die? I mean, his friends are accusing him of being wicked. He has lost all status. He's lost respect. And I'm sure that he was a venerated man. He was wealthy and full of wisdom. And I'm sure that people, when Job talked, people paid attention, right? And now all of that has changed. And he's literally, been afflicted in his body with boils and sores and hurts. And I just can't even begin to imagine the anguish of his soul. And I know personally, I keep, thinking I'm going to go right back to that, but I just want to share with you. I know personally my time of testing and trial where Yah had to burn things out of me through allowing illness in my life, and where it drove me to almost the depths of anguish, to where I'm crying out to him. I know that you are good, but I don't understand anything that's happening. What happens in a place like that, if you submit to it, is a depth of understanding who he is more than any good time could bring. When you are driven to your knees with anguish, and yet you hold on to the feet of your bridegroom, crying out and washing his feet with your tears, saying, I don't care what I'm experiencing. I love you. I love you. I love you. I'm not letting go. I will not let go of you, King Yahusha, King Jesus, right? I will not let go, no matter what I experience. He fellowships with us by his Ruach, and his Ruach Ha-Kodesh, and a spirit of counsel, and he reveals things, and he begins to open up his word and understanding into things that lead me to go, oh my, I know this much. I know this much of what's really happening. And it makes you so hungry for more. It makes you so hungry for more. And it burns out a level of surface selfishness that I know that I've lived with most of my life, because that type of anguish drove me to a place where it began to open up the realms of who he is and to his glory, to make me say, "Ah, more of you and less of me." Me bores me, right? Me bores me at this point. It's him. I'm fascinated by who he is. Incredibly fascinated. I think about him morning, noon, and night. I wake up thinking about him. I dream about him. He's consumed me. And I'm so grateful and forever changed. And I can't wait to experience more. And I hope by the things that I cannot say, that if you're listening to the sound of my voice, that you catch by your spirit what I'm trying to impart to you through his spirit as a broken vessel that he has decided to pour his light through. Okay, I'm going to add my presentation and try to get past this one side, right? So he is attempting to share these insights with these friends, and they just do not have the ability to hear him. We see that old monkey saying, oh, hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil, right? So here they're looking at him, and because of their lack of understanding, they are seeing him as evil. They are hearing his words that are coming from the Holy Spirit of Yah for their instruction and admonition. And what they're hearing through a religious spirit is evil. And so what are they doing? They're speaking evil. That's how this works. Let's see what Job had to say. I just want to give you a couple of glimpses of what he was trying to say to them in the very last speech that he gave, when he'd tried, right? He'd tried to say other things in other ways, and they would not hear him. They just kept accusing him, joining up with the accuser of the brethren, allowing Hasatan, the adversary, to speak through them, thinking that they're doing Yah a favor. Okay, that's the religious spirit. So here's finally when he's almost done talking. This is his last speech, right? And here's what he's trying to still tell those that won't listen. Job 26, 5 through 14. The Raphaim are formed under the waters, and the inhabitants thereof. All right. He's trying to speak to them about the marine spirit kingdom, right? And what's going on and what's influencing things. Sheol, okay, now he's talking about the underworld, is naked before him. And Abaddon, right, has no covering. He is explaining supernatural things from the foundation of creation that we as humans can't perceive for the most part, at least not without his spirit. He stretches out the north over the empty place and hangs the earth upon nothing. He binds up the waters in his thick clouds, and the cloud is not rent under them. He holds back the face of his throne and spreads his cloud upon it, right? Hidden, right? He has compassed the waters with bounds until the day and night come to an end. The pillars of heaven tremble and are astonished at his reproof. The pillars of heaven. He divides the sea with his power. You know, I don't believe that Egypt was a one and done event. It's going to happen again when he brings his people out of all the nations. He divides the sea by his power, and by his understanding, he smites through the proud. By his Ruach, he has garnished the heavens. His hand has formed the crooked serpent. Lo, these are parts of his ways, right? He's like, this is just a glimpse. This is just a glimpse. And I confess to you, I understand very little of it. I mean, I feel like I've got, less than a little tiny fingerful, of understanding with all of this. Lo, these are parts of his ways, but how little a portion is heard of him. But the thunder of his power, who can understand it? All right, I wanted to zero in on this just so we can say, what's it like when we do try to understand? Because the English can be very misleading, right? Let's just look at this one verse I want to go back at again. And we're just going to dig into this one because this would be a 10-hour recording if I just wanted to dig into all that part, right? I can't do that because my flesh won't stand it. Job 26:13. By his Ruach, he has garnished the heavens. His hand has formed the crooked serpent. Well, gosh, I mean, if I'm reading that in the English, I get a completely different picture than when I break it down into the Hebrew. Garnished in the Hebrew is shifra. It means brightness, clearness, fairness. It's from the primitive root word shafar, which is a shin, a pei, and a resh. The Strong's tells us it means to make glisten with fairness. When I look at the word picture, garnish means shin, to destroy, pei, with your breath, your word, your decree, resh, principalities. Okay? He garnished the heavens. He cleansed the heavenly realm of rebellious principalities. That's what it's saying right there, right? And then he continues. So how did he do this? By his Ruach, by his breath, by his spirit, he garnished the heavens. His hand, okay, what is that? The Yod. It is the working hand who sits on the right hand of the Father, Yahusha, okay? So his hand has formed, okay? It formed it, okay? Halal, okay? That's what that word is here, okay? We have lots of different words for that get translated create or formed or make, right? We've got bara, we've got asaf, and now here we're looking at halal, okay? Formed. So this time, what does he mean? He's saying something very different. They're not one and the same. They're not interchangeable, okay? They're specific. So this word formed means he wound or dissolve, okay? It's a het lamed lamed. It's a wall of authority, double authority of the shepherd. The etymology said this word is first listed in Genesis 4:26 in connection to Seth's son saying men began to call halal, wound, the name of Yod He Vav He, Yahuwah. All right. This Seth's son saying men began to halal, wound the name of Yahweh. Okay, so he garnished the heavens. His hand has halaled, wounded. Who? The crooked serpent, crooked, barayak. Okay, bet, resh, het. The etymology, something that is bolting or fleeing away. The word picture, crooked, is the description for the house, bet, house, going into the inner chamber, the heart, what is in the inmost being, right? The house of principalities. And what's it saying about that? They are divided within themselves. Well, what do we learn? I believe it is Isaiah 28, Ezekiel 28, where it talks about, I write about this in my book, to understand what was the curse that was sent upon Hasatan when he rebelled. He was the worship leader of heaven. Somehow they got jealous of God, didn't like the way that the leadership was going, thought he'd organize a coup. He was the worship leader, and then he is thrown out of the heavenlies like lightning. Okay. So crooked is the description for the house of the principalities, which is divided. Serpent. Okay, that one's pretty easy, right? Nakash. The word picture. The serpent is life. Noon. Nakash. Life. It looks like a sperm that's swimming. It's the genome. It's generations. It's progression. It's progeny, right? It's growth, it's life, it's plants sprouting forth. It's a seed that looks dead until the right amount of heat, water, and pressure is put upon it, and then it sprouts and it grows. Okay. So the word picture is the serpent is a life that has been separated for destruction, the shin, right? It is noon, het, shin. A life separated for destruction. It comes from a primitive root word that is spelled the same way. That means to hiss, a magic spell. Very important. Okay, I just wanted to share that one little piece. I wish that I could dig into all of it. This is what my books are about. I dig in to the best of my ability and put it out there so that you can have it. You can look at it, you can read it, you can compare it, you can look other things up, you can decide whether what I'm sharing with you is right or wrong according to your own studies. Be good Bereans, right? Okay, Luke 10:17-18. It just reminded me of this. And the 70 returned again with joy, saying, Adonai, he sent them out, right? He sent out his disciples, and they return unto him, 70 of them, with joy, saying, Adonai, even the devils are subject unto us through your name. And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from the heaven. The word Satan literally means adversary. You know, I saw your adversary. I saw the adversarial one fall as lightning fall from heaven, right? Behold, I give unto you, this is Luke 10:19-20. I'm giving unto you power to tread upon serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. Right? So we get all hung up on that. We like to put everything in our natural experience here upon the earth. But I am an eternal being. We are eternal beings that are having an experience here, right? He has defeated death, hell, and the grave for me. It does not mean that that this flesh suit won't get hurt, won't eventually die, right? But right now, I'm breathing at his pleasure. Every day that I continue to breathe, it is at his pleasure because he's decided I'm not done yet. And I'm rejoicing every day that I have breath because while I am here, I can work on behalf of his kingdom. Because once I leave this earth, he doesn't need me in heaven. He needs me here doing a job. He's entrusted me to be here in this flesh suit, doing a job, allowing him to pour through me to others so that I can accomplish his will on earth by submitting my will. It's the only way I can do it. I have nothing in me to offer. Nothing. There's nothing about Shelle Wagner that is worth offering to anyone. But every good and perfect gift comes down from the Father of light. And if I'm submitted, he can flow. He can flow and he can touch others. And they can get their own relationship or a furtherance of their relationship because his power flows through me and you to touch others, right? So he's telling them, okay, I've given this to you. It's awesome. You've got this. This is your gift. I've given it to you. This is your power, and I'm giving it to you. He says, notwithstanding in this, rejoice not. He's like, this is nothing. It's nothing to get all rejoicing about. Here's what you should rejoice. That the Ruach are subject. Okay, don't rejoice that the evil spirits, right, are subject unto you, but rather rejoice because your name is written in heaven. It's in the book of life, in the book of the Lamb. It's there. That's worth getting excited over. That's worth rejoicing about because you were dead in your trespasses and sin. And except for his gift of salvation and him coming with his perfect plan of redemption to defeat death, hell, and the grave, we were goners. We were goners. We would have been lost forever. But he has a great plan. And he's had it since before the foundation of the world. Back to Job. Here's a few more things that he wanted to share with his friends. This is in Job 27, 1-4. He says, moreover, Job continued in his parable and said, as El lives, who has taken away my judgment, right? He's taken it away. And El Shaddai, the all-sufficient one who has vexed my soul. Right? He's saying he's allowed my soul to be vexed. Why? Because it needed to be. Because he's more concerned with my eternal condition than my temporary comfort. And sometimes that can be really extreme. And I'm not saying it doesn't hurt, because it does. But he is good nonetheless. All the while, my breath is in me. He's like, he is allowing my soul to be just absolutely through the ringer while my having to live this out in this earth suit, right? And the Ruach Elohai is in my nostrils. He's in my breath. My lips shall not speak wickedness, nor my tongue utter deceit. What is he saying? He's saying, I don't care what screws I'm being put to. I'm not going to speak against the character of Yah. I am not going to say that he is not good. I am not going to join up with the accuser and deceive people as to the character of my God. That's what he's saying. He had a lot of wisdom. Job 29, 2-7. He says, oh, that I were as in months past. I mean, he is in so much anguish. His soul is in so much anguish. He would like to go back to where his children were still alive, right? To where his body still functioned, to where his wife was still in good fellowship with him, to where people still, he still had some wealth and had the ability to be generous to the poor. He would like to have gone back to that as in months past, as in the days when Elohai was guarding me, right? He's saying he understands that that Yahweh, in all his goodness, in all his wisdom, decided to allow him to be exposed to the evil one and allowed the evil one to come against him. He took down that wall of protection for a purpose. When his candle shined upon my head, he's saying I had this light. And when by his light, I walked through darkness, right? I had night vision. I was walking through the darkness. Right now, in the depths of his despair, he's like, I can't even begin to comprehend what is happening. And that's what it's like when you're in a dark night of the soul. When Yah doesn't choose to tell you why. He doesn't owe us an explanation, and he does not necessarily come and say, this is why you're going through this dark night of the soul. We're expected to love him and honor him anyway. And I do. And I hope you do too. And I hope it encourages you to, if you're hearing my voice and you're in that dark night of the soul, because there are so many going through it right now and so many getting ready to go through it. And a lot of us have been going through it for years, I think, in preparation for masses of humanity to experience it so that we can stand firm and say, Yahweh is good. He is not evil. He is good. He has a plan. He can be trusted. He is trustworthy, no matter what is happening. As I was in the days of my youth, he's like, it used to be different when I was younger. When the secret of Elohai was upon my tabernacle, right? It was, he's like, I was surrounded, this was happening, that was happening. I could hear his voice, right? When El Shaddai was yet with me, when I felt his all sufficiency, right? When my children were about me before they were all dead. He lost all his children in one day. In one day. Yet he was not wicked in accusing Yah. He did not join up with the accuser. He didn't. He mourned. He wept. He sorrowed, but he didn't accuse. When I washed my steps with butter, he's like, I was so rich. And the rock poured out rivers of oil. When I went out to the gate through the city, when I prepared my seat in the street, he was respected among men. Amazing. Job 29:11 and 12. When the ear heard me, right before they were going la 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 la, or hearing evil, they heard the goodness. When the ear heard me, then it blessed me. And when the eye saw me, it gave witness to me, because I delivered the poor that cried and the fatherless and him that had none to help him. He was like, I was able to give out of the abundance that I was living in. Job 29:21 through 22. Unto we men gave ear and waited and kept silence. Unto me, men gave ear. He's like, men listened to me, and they waited and they kept silence at my counsel, at my exa. He had living counsel from the Holy Spirit of the Ruach of exa, counsel that flowed through him, and people listened for it. After my words, they spoke not again, and my speech dropped upon them. It was like rain. It gave them something to contemplate on a very deep level. He says, but now they that are younger than I am have me in derision. They look at me and scoff. They think that I am a nothing and a nobody, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock. He's like, even their lineage was of no account, because they weren't respectable. And now their offspring are holding me in derision. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men. It's like degenerate men, right? They were now I am their song. Yea, I am their byword, right? That's like a lyric, to a song. They abhor me. They flee far from me and spare not to spit in my face. They're not afraid to just come spit in my face. Why is this? Because he has loosed my cord. Now that word is yether, and it is a superiority, an ability, I would think, to walk in authority. It's a superiority, but not as in I'm looking down on you, but I'm walking in a whole different dimension, right? And afflicted me. They have also let loose the bridle before me. Amazing. Okay, continuing on with Job 16 through 20. And now my soul is poured out upon me. The days of affliction have taken a hold upon me. My bones are pierced in me in the night season, and my sinews take no rest. He was in great physical agony. By the great force of my dis-ease is my garment changed. It binds me about as the collar of my coat. He has cast me into the mire, and I am become like dust and ashes. I cry unto you, and you do not hear me. I stand up, and you regard me not. Now, I know I'm doing a lot of study. A lot of our emotions have a great effect on our physical body. And this is why I think that this is so important. And I want to share it with you. Grasp a hold of it, because we've got to be considering, what are you thinking about? You can be experiencing anguishing situations, but it is time to become good soldiers and to rise up, even if you can't physically right at this moment. Rise up in your thought level, right? Praise him. I don't care if you do it with tears running down your face. I don't care if everything in your emotions wants to just lay on the floor and die. Praise him anyway. Come up out of it. Start thinking about what you're thinking about. If you're hurting all over, think about what you're thinking about and stop the negative thing and start thinking about who he is and the fact that you are still breathing at his pleasure. No matter how bad you're hurting, no matter what's going on, you're still breathing at his pleasure. We're going to keep fighting the good fight. Just like Paul said, there's a reason he said, I've learned how to be abased and to abound. We have to stop being so swayed by what's happening to us on this natural plane. He says, you are become cruel to me with your strong hand. You oppose yourself against me. You lift me up to the wind. You cause me to ride upon it and dissolve my substance. For I know that you will bring me to death and to the house appointed for all living. Howbeit, he will not stretch out his hand to the grave, though they cry in his destruction. Did not I weep for him that was in trouble? Was not my soul grieved for the poor? He's in his anguish. His soul is beginning to question why. When I looked for good, then evil came unto me. And when I waited for light, there came darkness. He was like, this is not what I was expecting. Job 31, 3-6. Is not destruction to the wicked? He's like, I thought this is what happened to wicked people, to those that were against you, not those that were for you. He's like, yeah, if this is how you treat your friends, I don't get it. His soul was in anguish and a strange punishment to the workers of iniquity. Does not he see my ways? He's like, yeah, don't you even see me and count my steps? If I've walked with vanity, or if my foot has hasted to deceit, let me be weighed in an even balance, that Eloha may know my integrity. I mean, you can see it. He's like, I was doing everything that I knew to do, everything that I knew to do that I knew was the right thing. So then skip forward, because then his wicked friends, or his misguided friends, that are speaking in the same message as the accuser of the brethren, because of their lack of understanding, thinking that they're doing God a favor. He says, then Job 38, finally, Yah has something to say. 1-4. Then Yahuwah answered Job out of the whirlwind, and he said, who is this that darkens counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up now your loins like a man, for I will demand of you, and you can answer me. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare it if you have understanding. He's like, you're trying to reason on a level that you don't begin to understand. You don't begin to understand. Why do you think the word says that praise is perfected out of the mouth of babes? I mean, literally, when you look at the entities that have been created, humans, we're babes. We're new on the scene, right? And we only get a short little, it says our whole life is just like a puff of smoke in the scheme of things, right? We don't have that level of understanding. I don't care how smart you are, how many PhDs you have, you do, and how much technology you understand. You do not have the type of understanding that ancient beings have. That were there. Were you there? Do you understand from the very beginning? What level are you really at? Then in Job 42, 1-6, now Job gets to answer this. And he's learned a few things from hearing God to say. He said, then Job answered Yahweh and said, I know that you can do everything and that no thought can be withheld from you. You want to talk about, people are all worried, right? People are so worried about technology, and it's picking up on everything we say, and it's basically able to read our mind and this right? You know what? Yah knows every single thought you've ever had. There's a record of every single moment of your life. You have been under constant surveillance from the great cloud of witnesses, all of heaven, as well as Yah. Nothing hidden from his sight. So now he says, who is he that hides counsel without knowledge? Therefore have I uttered that I understood not. Right? Job is saying, I didn't know. You've just shown me, you've just right-sized me. You've just shown me, Yah, that I am just another bozo on the bus. I don't know half of what I thought I knew. He's been right-sized big time. Okay? He says, therefore have I uttered that I understood not things too wonderful for me, which I knew not. Here, I beseech you, and I will speak. I will demand of you and declare you unto me. I have heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees you. Wherefore I abhor myself and repent in dust and ashes. Now, I was looking here, and I'm just going to leave this up for a minute in case you want to get a screenshot of it. But I looked up for all the places that I could connect. And I'm sure this is not an exhaustive list. It was just things that really were catching my eye concerning the spirit of counsel and where it is talked about. So for more understanding on this, I just wanted to share a little bit of my research. This is what I do. If I'm preparing for a teaching, I mean, for every hour of teaching, I've done at least 10 or more hours of study, of good, hard study, to try to wrap my brain around what it is that Yah wants me to say and to do a job that would please him, that he would be happy with. And so I just wanted to show you, these were things that I was looking up. I'm going to share a few of them. So one of the things that it took me to is a huge lesson on counsel and what that counsel is, comes right out of the book of Second Baruch. And what I did is I went back and went to, I believe I might have started in 52. Second Baruch, like 52, 53. I think it was 53 when I checked the reference. So in 53 through 68, there's an explanation of black and white waters and how people were willing to listen and then not willing to listen, right? And he talks about his spirit of counsel in there and people willing to hear and not willing to hear, and what those time periods looked like as we go through the time periods of man, okay? Then, and this was all a vision that was given to Baruch. Okay, so it's they call it like the black and white waters, and I've done a little bit of teaching on this, but it was years ago. I feel like I've grown in my understanding since then, and I'm considering revisiting it. If that's something you guys would enjoy, maybe leave it in the comments. All right. So what follows these black and white waters out of the book of Second Baruch. And who was Baruch? Baruch was Jeremiah's scribe. And he was not happy with the position that he was given to stay in Jerusalem as it was falling and come into his own. He'd always been Jeremiah's scribe. And Yah really kind of deals with him. I believe it is in Jeremiah chapter 45. It's either 43 or 45, trying to just go by memory, but it's really interesting. But he comes into his own and gets incredible insights from Yah. And so after he's given the vision of the black and white waters, and then the visions continue. And in Baruch 72 through 74, Second Baruch 72 through 74, all of the black and white waters is followed by an explanation of bright lightning, which follows the last dark waters, And it is explaining the millennial reign and what's happening in the millennial reign. That's something that we don't see everywhere. And I have not really dug into that, but I hope that I end up having time to do that, or that y'all, ask me to do that, because I think I would really enjoy that. All right. So then in Isaiah 44, 24 through 26, this is one of the ones about counsel. It says, thus says Yahweh. I just want you to see, I'm kind of switching gears now, and I want you to see even more insight and more examples of how this spirit of counsel works in our life. Okay. And one of the ways that this particular passage points out is that sometimes Yah will literally send an angel to you to deliver a message. It has happened to me before. I hope it happens some more, because it's incredible. All right. So thus says Yahweh, your Redeemer, and he that formed you from the womb. I am Yahweh that makes all things, that stretches forth the heavens alone, that spreads abroad the earth by myself, that frustrates the tokens of the liars and makes diviners mad, that turns wise men backwards and makes their knowledge foolish, that confirms the counsel of his messengers. He's saying, through my spirit of counsel, and I send a messenger by an angelic messenger coming to you, I'm going to perform it. My word does not return unto me void, right? That says to Jerusalem, you shall be inhabited, and to the cities of Judah, you shall be built, and I will raise the decayed places thereof. There's something more coming. There's something more coming. It's going to be amazing, right? And so I put this little picture up here because, the angelic visitation, it's usually in the form of a man, but a lot of, right? It looks like man. Other times, had an experience where the word that says, be careful to be kind and entertain like strangers. You don't know when you might be entertaining an angel and you're unaware of it. I know Yah has explained to me by his Ruach a situation that's where I was in, because the whole thing was fired with, his spirit. It was incredible. But I'm kind of going, okay, I'm just like, it was one of those times, like I'm seeing in the natural, I'm operating in the natural, but yet I know something very supernatural is taking place. I think it was one of my tests. Okay. Hosea 4:12. My people ask counsel at their trees. This is something that's happening right now. This is huge, huge, huge right now in what's going on in the body. And I can tell you, I kind of came out of mainstream Christianity and entered into this Hebraic roots movement, Messianic Judaism, whatever it was, back in 2004. Things, I wanted to learn all I can. It opened up a whole new world to me, things that I had never heard in the church, as far as understanding his Sabbath, understanding the feast, beginning to understand the Old Testament, scriptures, the beginning of the book, right? In a whole new way, the Hebrew language, all of it, right? But there's mixture in it. And this is the mixture, and it's ugly. It's very, very deceptive. And right away, it didn't sit right with my spirit. It's mysticism. It comes, I believe, from the Chaldeans. I believe it can be proven. I believe it's ancient Egypt coming through as Jewish mysticism. And years ago, during a Feast of Unleavened Bread, I asked the Father to show me what was, this was in 2021. 2021. I said, Father, I really need you to speak to me a deep message on what is the unleavened bread that you need me to be aware of. He literally, this is one of those times when he literally woke me up and spoke to me a message by his Ruach of counsel. And he said, Talmud, Mishnah, Zohar. That's the unleavened bread. And I said, okay. I didn't know what the Zohar was, didn't know what the Mishnah was, had heard enough of the Talmud that I was not impressed at all to want anything to do with it, and I was freaked out by people that were following it, but it's so hidden in the Messianic movement, and it's pervasive. I would say 95% from my own experience, I may be wrong, but I would say a good 95% of what's out there that claims to be Messianic Judaism or Hebraic roots is that this has seeped into the teachings and what's there. And it's dog poop. I'm sorry, but it's dog poop. And it's worse than that. It is so dangerous. It is so deceptive. And I believe it began in the ancient war with, I believe this goes all the way back to before Adam and Eve. And I believe that this is part of what the ancient wars in the heavenlies were about. I believe it's that far connected and that far deceptive. And it looks good and it sounds like it's just sacred geometry and it's all in nature and it's so deceptive. It's so deceptive. Do your own research. Hosea 4:12 says, my people ask counsel at their trees. This is a picture of what is called the tree of life that comes from Kabbalah. Okay. I'm going to switch gears for a minute. I want to show you one other thing here. Let's just look. All right. Let me stop that one. Let me show you something else about that. So this is kind of a new book. Here's this woman's website. Let me make sure. Okay, I've got it where I can see it too and see my thing at the same time. All right. So Cherry Gilchrist, she's the one who wrote this book. She also wrote The Circle of Nine. She's an award-winning author whose themes include mythology, alchemy, family history, life stories, and Russian culture. She says, I've been writing since childhood and began to have stories, articles, and poetry published in my teenage years. I settled into my stride in my 30s and have had around 30 books published with leading such as Wiser, whatever, Okay. Luck, persistence, and keeping a philosophical outlook in the face of publishing ups and downs have all helped to shape my work as an author over the past 40 years. Her range of titles includes books both for adults and children, such as the popular Stories from the Silk Road and the well-known Alchemy, the Great Work, which has never been out of print since first published in 1984. The groundbreaking Circle of Nine, exploring feminine archetypes in the everyday life of women, has recently been revised and republished. Russian Magic is an insider's look at Russian myths and folklore based on Cherry's many visits to Russia. And her book, The Tarot Triumphs, explores the rich symbolism of traditional tarot cards. Cherry is a graduate of Cambridge University with a postgraduate. Okay, just given her thing. She's recently moved back to the whatever area in Gloucester, renowned for its whatever. Okay, her husband is an artist and his paintings have often been inspired by the views here. Here's her current news. Kabbalah, the Tree of Life Oracle. I'm delighted to say that after a long pandemic delay, the latest edition of Kabbalah, the Tree of Life Oracle, is now available. All right. So there's a whole lot of mixture in there. Okay. Tarot cards in particularly. I've been looking at something. Let me see if I can find this one now. Oh, let's see. All right. So there's other things. Let me see if I can bring this one up for you. All right. All right, let me see if I can share my screen. All right, I'm going to share this one. Okay. Okay, so this was just something I was looking at. Dan Duvall's done a really good job on exposing Kabbalah, right? I would suggest that you go watch his whole series. If you've been taken in by this, if you have questions by this, if people are saying that it's all good, please go watch his series and get some understanding. It's very interesting here where he was sharing about this guy. Who was it? A.E. White. He was a public author. These are the books he wrote: The Book of Ceremonial Magic in 1911, The Holy Kabbalah in 1929, and A New Encyclopedia of Freemasonry in 1921. There are way too many people saying that there's just no problem with this when it is a big problem. It is a very big problem. And I believe that it's going to be a main thing that comes into like the battle of the ages. And it's been going on forever. Okay. Be careful of this. Jeremiah 32, 17 through 19. Ah, Adonai Yahweh, behold, you have made the heavens and the earth by your great power and stretched out arm, and there is nothing too hard for you. You show loving kindness unto thousands and recompense the iniquity of the fathers into the bosom of their children after them. Hagadol, Ha-El Gibor, Yahuwah Zavaot is his name, great in counsel and mighty in work. For your eyes are open upon all the ways of Son of Men, to give everyone according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doings. Got to be careful what we are doing with our life, what we're winking at, what we're saying is okay, what we're endorsing. We will give a full account for those decisions. Psalm 1:1 through 6. Blessed is the man that walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the Torah of Yahweh. There's a vast difference between the Talmud and the Torah, right? They are not one and the same. This oral thing that they want to say, the Mishnah and all that stuff, it came from man, not from Yah. It is not scripture. It is not the inspired word of Elohim given through Moses, his servant. It was come up with in Babylon. All right, from men. But his delight is in the Torah of Yahweh, and in his Torah he meditates day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by rivers of water that brings forth his fruit in his season. What is the fruit? This is all explained. What are the fruits of the Spirit? But joy, peace, love, patience, kindness. Okay, they're all there. I don't have them all memorized right here. It's mercy, compassion, gentleness, it's self-control. I think I got them all now. These are the fruits of Yah's Spirit. You want to know if Yah is really in someone. Is that what's coming forth? When you press them, is that what comes out? Whatever's in you when you are pressed is what comes out. So he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that brings forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he does shall prosper. The wicked are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind drives away. Chaff is what is removed from the wheat, right? It was part of the wheat, and now it's been removed. Just food for thought, which the wind drives away. What's the wind? The breath, the Ruach drives it away. Therefore, the wicked shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For Yahweh knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked shall perish. Psalm 73:24. Here's a promise to stand on. Here's one to write out on a card. You, who, Yahweh, you shall guide me with your counsel. And afterward, if I will just hold on to what you're telling me, if I will be guided by your counsel and I will submit to it, afterward, you are going to receive me to glory. The knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, neither at any time the counsel of sinners prudence. Sin, it's departure from the path of righteousness. Doesn't take much. Narrow is the way, right? Narrow is the way, and few be that find the gate. This is from Sirach 19:22. The knowledge of a wise man shall abound like a flood, and his counsel is like a pure fountain of life. Find a wise friend like that. It's truly their wisdom is coming out of Yah's word, not out of mysticism. You found a good friend. Spider was trying to crawl down right on my desk. I squished it like a button. All right. His counsel like a pure fountain of life. Now, this is Sirach 30:21-25. Give not over your mind to heaviness, and afflict not yourself in your own counsel. It's like, okay, this is where my mystery box comes in, right? And I did a whole show, it's on my channel, it's called The Mystery Box. It's underneath, it's either underneath my, probably under Mercy Poured Forth playlist. Did it a long time ago. Anyway, it says, give not your mind over to heaviness and afflict not yourself in your own counsel. This is like my mind just getting on something and I've got to understand it. I've got to understand it. I've got to understand it, right? Yet Yah is not revealing it to me yet. He, for whatever purpose, for his understanding only, he is not choosing to share his insight with me on something. I have learned to build a mystery box. It looks like the most beautiful present. And I take those things and I say, all right, I am going to not take on heaviness over this. I'm going to simply put it down, and say, okay, Father, I'm putting this in the mystery box. This mystery box, it's wrapped in ribbons that say, you are always good. You are always perfect. Your ways, you're smarter than I am, right? And there's things I'm not going to understand. And it is your decision whether or not you choose to give me understanding on something. So apparently you don't think that I'm ready for whatever this is, and I may never be. So until you're ready to bring it out of the mystery box, I'm putting it in there. And if you choose to share with me insight and wisdom on it later, wonderful. If not, I love you. I just love you. The gladness of the heart is when I do that, right? It frees up my heart to rejoice in who he is, right? And I don't have to carry heaviness. I wasn't built for it. My flesh suit can only withstand so much. And so I can't take things that he's not putting upon my shoulders. If he's not putting it upon me, I don't need to be putting it upon myself. The gladness of the heart is the life of man, and the joyfulness of a man prolongs his days. And I want to stay here as long as he wants me here so that I can complete my assignments. I want to complete it to the full, whatever it takes. I want to be here until he's like, all right, good job. Come on home. You did everything that I put on your plate. I'm praying that I have every resource that I need to complete every assignment that he's given me. And that's resources financially, physically, and within me, within my spirit, within my soul, within my own determination. You know, that he buffets me and girds me up by his word, that he'll send me every friend that I need to encourage me and walk with me on the path for whatever time he has for them to walk with me on the path. Right? It says, love your own soul. Right? That's how we love our soul. And comfort your heart. Remove sorrow far from you. For sorrow has killed many, and there's no profit therein. Envy and wrath shorten life. When I'm sitting here thinking, well, gosh, I wish I was as pretty as this one. I wish that I could talk like that one. I wish I was skinny as her. I wish I had their money. No, I have everything I need. I have, my daddy is El Shaddai. He's not going to withhold anything from me that I need to complete my assignments. So I can be rest assured in the fact that I have everything that I need and I can rejoice in it. I don't have to wish I had other people's stuff and open up myself to demonic entities that are going to shorten my life. Envy and wrath shorten life, and carefulness brings age before the time. What is that? That's like the servant, the wicked servant that got the one talent and just hid it in the ground. Well, I was afraid of you. I was afraid that I wouldn't do it right, that I couldn't please you, that you're a hard man to please. I was so offensive to Yahusha, so offensive to him. He's not hard. He's not harsh. He loves us. If we fall, the righteous man falls 7 times, but he gets back up. Just gets back up. He's looking for us to be on the move, to not be afraid to move. And he's faithful. If we're moving in the wrong direction, and I pray that all the time, Father, I'm going to be on the move. I'm going to trust that you are right with me, that I'm walking hand in hand with you, and I'm on the move for your kingdom. And I trust that by your goodness, if I'm getting it wrong, you're going to correct me. I don't have to be afraid that I'm going to do it wrong. A cheerful and good heart will have a care of his meat and diet. Boy, you know what? When I read that one, I was like, I really still need to be more careful. You know, I fall short in this area. And so, you know, I confess it. I confess it before you, you know, my friends, and I confess it before my God. I need to come up higher in this area, because when there are still things that trip me up. You know, I have we reached no level of perfection. And when things really upset me emotionally and I get off track, it shows up first in what I choose to eat and drink. You know, not alcohol, but sugar, right? Overeating, eating the wrong kinds of things, eating too much bread. You know, I try to be really careful without being obsessive, but that's what will happen to me. I will comfort myself rather than eat to empower myself, right? And I'm becoming more and more aware of it, and I'm trying to be more and more submitted in that area. Hopefully you guys will be able to see the difference, you know, because the face of my face will change. Actually, when I look at it, I'm looking at, because I've really been trying to submit this area for quite some time. And if I look back from when I was starting to do videos, I mean, literally, I have lost 25 or so pounds since I began my video ministry. It's not quick. It's not quick. And sometimes I really have to battle, you know, but I'm learning from his word that tells me, you know what, if you're battling in that area, and it's usually because I've become disturbed in my emotions by some kind of conflict that's going on with someone, because I don't like to be in conflict, and I don't enjoy it. You know, this whole thing about the Kabbalah and the Metatron and all that, that's brought some conflict to my life. And it upsets me because I don't like to be in conflict with everybody. I wish we could all just be on the same page, but we're not. We're not. And I have to stick to what Yah is showing me, right? And I know what he's showing me. And this is a battle, right? But I don't like being in conflict with other people. I love people, you know? So I'm learning though to let it go, take care of my own soul, right? Have a cheerful heart and make sure I'm having a good heart, which to me, that means conflict may arise, but I have to learn how to say what I mean what I say, and do not be mean about it. Because if I am so impassioned that I am mean in the way that I come across with it, then I hurt people, and then I hurt, because I don't want to hurt people. I don't like it. I don't like it. And it's never my intention. It's not my intention to hurt anyone, but it is my intention to be a warrior for his truth. And that's what I've got to be, right? All right, moving on. Oh, that's it. Okay. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed this presentation as much as I have enjoyed making it. I hope it's a blessing in your life. I hope that something in it ministered something that you needed to hear. That's my prayer. Take what you need, leave the rest. All right. And for now, I will say shalom.
Their journey began in Yasharel, but they were scattered across the face of the earth, each one with its own beat, and each one with its own rhythm. As the dry bones are being revived, the beat begins again at the heart of the tribe.